Okay, we're live?
Yes.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to tonight's District 5 Supervisor Candidates Forum. I'm Joe Castile, President of the Lake County Chamber of Commerce, and I'll be the evening's moderator. The Chamber directors are pleased to provide this public service so you have the opportunity to learn more about those running for this important office. Thank you to everyone for joining this virtual presentation of the District 5 Candidate Forum. The Lake County Chamber of Commerce would like to thank everyone who submitted their questions for the forum. Normally, we have 18 to 20 questions. However, this evening, we have 38. So candidates, please get comfortable. As a number of the questions submitted were duplications, for the sake of time, the committee did their best to adhere to the intent of each question when combining. It will not be possible for us to take any questions this evening during the forum, obviously due to time. I want to do a special thank you to the Kelseyville Business Association for rescheduling their member meeting to allow their membership to attend this important forum. One other change to our format is that we have arranged the questions to be in categories in the following order. We'll discuss the economy, the environment, management, community, and cannabis. So let's go over the ground rules. The candidates will be seated according to a draw, which they participated in last week. Each candidate will get up to 3 minutes to introduce themselves at the beginning of the forum and to present their opening statement. It is not mandatory for the candidates to take the full 3 minutes, but it is what's allowed. When a question is asked, each candidate will get 2 minutes to respond if they choose to. At the end of the questions submitted by the public, each candidate will then ask their question of the other candidate. At the end of the forum, each candidate will get 3 minutes for a closing statement. Our timer this evening is Melissa Fulton, CEO of the Chamber, as she will hold up a yellow sheet with when there's 30 seconds remaining, and the candidates, in 30 seconds remaining for the candidate's response. And a red sheet will go up when the time is up. Videotaping of the evening's events is by Sam Houston of Houston Productions. We appreciate his time in providing this valuable public service. Jake Rinke of the County of Lake is facilitating the Zoom portion of the forum. And there's a live stream video will be seen on the County of Lake Facebook page, as well as the Lake County Chamber's Facebook page. You can also view on PEG TV, and in a few days, it will also be available on YouTube. So now it's time for the introductions. And during the drawing, Mr. Kearney won that particular drawing. So Bill Kearney, please, from Kelseyville, you have your 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Bill Kearney. I've lived in Lake County for the last 40 years. I owned 2 pharmacies and just recently sold them. And now I'm retired and decided that I wanted to give back to this county that had been so good to my business and my family for the last 40 years. I've been a registered pharmacist for 60 years. I have graduated from Drake University back in 1966, went into the military and was drafted and went to Korea in 68 and 69, and am very proud of the time that I served in the military. Since I've been in Lake County, I've been past president of the Greater Lakeport Chamber of Commerce, also member of the Elks and the Early Lake Lions, and all the political or all the professional organizations of pharmacy that are in the state of California and in the nation. I'm very proud to represent Lake County, and many people have asked me why I would want to do this. Well, I just recently retired, but I don't do very well at retirement, and I needed to give back to this county, and this was a great opportunity to do so. I don't need the job financially. I do need a job to keep me busy. And the thing that I would love doing more than anything is give back to the county that's been so gracious to me and my family. I love Lake County. I would love to see it continue. I would like to see us have greater influence on bringing high-tech industry here. I think that's essential, and I think COVID-19 has shown that we can conduct many of these businesses from our homes or from our offices, and we don't have to be paying huge rents or purchase prices of homes that we have in Lake County. I'm for building more affordable housing in Lake County, but right now it doesn't seem like it's possible. And of course, we have the fires that are causing a lot of people to want to leave, but we also have the COVID and the density of the population in the Bay Area and the costs wanting to come up to an area that's less dense. I believe in making this county more efficient as far as financially goes. I think we need some new faces on the Board of Supervisors. I am willing to do that. Again, I'm not doing this because I need a job or I need the money. It's because I really care about Lake County. My background has been, I grew up on a farm in Iowa. I know what it's like to work hard. I know what it's like to give. My wife and I have been enjoying the giving that we have been able to do while we had our businesses in Lake County, and want to continue doing that as much as we can. And one of the best places I know to do that is to give back to this county that we love so much. So I really want to not consider this as a job, as it is just a commitment to make this county great. And not that we aren't there yet. We've been a very gratuitous county, and we've suffered a lot of damages by the fires and in the past floods. And we need to
Bill,
Yes. Did I go by?
you're out of time. Yes.
Oh, did I see? Was there?
I have
There
to
it
watch
is.
mine.
I didn't see the yellow one.
Okay.
Oh, I did both of them. All right.
That's not the first time that's happened.
All right, it's time to hear from our other candidate. That would be Jessica Pyska from Cobb. Jessica, you have your 3 minutes for the introduction.
Good evening. I'm Jessica Pyska. First, I'd like to take a moment to thank the Chamber for once again hosting this forum and for taking the extra steps to make this an all virtual event. This is a critical time for our county. We are facing a global pandemic, an economic disaster, and more threatening wildfires. We have a choice to make about how we move forward and what our future looks like. I believe in a vibrant Lake County, and despite the challenges ahead of us, I believe we are capable of elevating this place we love to the potential we all see. My life for the past 5 years has been in the trenches of long-term disaster recovery, rebuilding my home, community building, fire prevention, economic development, and strategic planning. I have been creating a network and cultivating relationships both in our county and beyond to make sure we get the resources we need to thrive. Since choosing to get into this race 2 years ago, I have dedicated myself to understanding the details of our local issues, meeting with residents, county staff, fire chiefs, state officials, and have developed close, respectful relationships with all 5 supervisors. We have an excellent team in place, but I believe we can always strive to be better prepared, more proactive, and committed to raising the standard for everyone in Lake County.
Thank you, Jessica. Okay, so now we will move on to the question portion of the forum. And again, Mr. Kearney won the draw, so he will begin, and we will alternate between Bill and Jessica. So our first question for Mr. Kearney: what is your plan to clear the backlog of tax defaulted property sales and ensure Lake County does not end up in this situation again? What action will you take, and when will you take it?
1 second, Bill. You are still muted.
Is that better?
Yes, there you go.
Okay. The question was about tax sales, why we weren't.
Do you need me to repeat the question?
Yeah. Please do, Joe.
What is your plan to clear the backlog of tax defaulted property sales and ensure Lake County does not end up in this situation again? What action will you take and when will you take it?
Well, as I would take it as soon as I was on the board, but just remember, you're one of 5 different people. So a lot of the people would be the same. And there has to be an emergency to that because it means a lot of revenue to this county. And I've listened to the Board of Supervisors meeting, talking to Barbara, ringing and finding out why these, and she mentioned last board meeting that there would only be one that she would be able to do to the end of the year. I'm not sure why that is because I haven't been part of that discussion, but that's money just waiting for this county. And a lot of it is in unimproved properties down in Clear Lake. Many of those homes are in Clear Lake. And we need that revenue to continue with this county. So I would do what I could do to get informed before I actually take office and find out why this isn't, we don't have a speedier process on accomplishing that.
Okay. Thank you. Jessica?
So the issue of the tax sale properties is a huge revenue crisis for our county. We have not had a tax sale in several years. The plan was to have 2 this year of each 300 properties, and I don't believe that's enough. I've spoken with members of the Clear Lake City Council and members of the Supervisor Board, the Board of Supervisors, to figure out how we can make sure that these tax sales are happening regularly. It's unacceptable to not have them. There's plenty of technology available, and we really can't move forward in this county without addressing this issue. This is an economic issue. This is a housing issue. This is a blight issue, and this is a revenue issue.
Thank you. Do we have any response back from Mr. Kearney?
No, what Jessica repeated was exactly exactly what I was referring to also. We know it's a revenue problem. We know it has to be done. We know it has to be accelerated, but somebody has to make that happen. And that's what I want to be involved with.
Okay, I was remiss in not mentioning that these first group of questions will be regarding the economy.
So are we having rebuttals or not?
Yes, we are.
No, Melissa?
Oh, yes, you may, Jessica.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because when we spoke earlier, we weren't having rebuttals, but we have so many questions. I just want to be clear.
Okay. Did you have a response to what Bill Kearney said?
No, I don't. This is absolutely important and all hands need to be at the table and we need to get this issue resolved immediately.
Okay. We'll move to the next question. Back to Mr. Kearney. Almost every community in Lake County has an issue with the homeless. Some hang out in the parks, main streets, some by choice, others because of drug problems or mental disorders. What will you do to alleviate this problem?
That's kind of an uncomfortable question for me to ask because I know if you will build the facilities, they will come. I'm not encouraging to get more homeless in this county. I want to take care of the people that we have here now, and I want to make sure that they get medical treatment if they have a mental deficiency or if they have an addiction or something like that that we can treat. But I'm not in favor, and this won't be a popular statement, but I'm not in favor of making our homeless shelters larger so we can accommodate more, because if we will build them, they will come.
Okay. Ms. Pyska, do you have a response to that?
So understanding our homeless problem, our homeless issue, the most important thing we need to do is have an accurate count. And in January, there's a national point in time count where cities and counties across the country count their homeless. And I participated in that last year, and we counted roughly 500 people experiencing homelessness in our community. But we know that number is well into the several thousand. So Pastor Shannon has done a great amount of work on this. We have the Elijah House at the old juvenile hall, and we have the Hope House that's coming to Clear Lake that can help these people with wraparound services. But we have to have an accurate count. So what Pastor Shannon has done now is started a collaboration with the different service organizations around the county so that we can reach into the schools and all the different areas so that we can truly find out who our population is and how we can serve them. You have to have an accurate count so that you can get the funding to help these people. And with Elijah House and the Project Room Key that was started during COVID, people were able to successfully find permanent housing and jobs. So, you know, it's the wraparound services that are so important for this process and making sure that we get the funding that we deserve in our county.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the next question. This would be for Bill Kearney. Would you please describe how you have supported District 5, especially the businesses, during this very challenging time since March? How do you see your role in helping small businesses not only survive, but prosper in Lake County in the future?
Well, I don't own my pharmacies anymore, but the people that are successful are the people that are making themselves available to the residents of Lake County. That's very difficult in this kind of environment. But if you're going to succeed, you have to be there for the people. And I know COVID has restricted the amount of people that can be in a building and how many people can be together at one time. And there are ways to make that work. We see the restaurants being very effective of doing that outside. It's not as easy for people like my pharmacy, for example, but you have to be available. And it's very easy to turn your back and say, I can't participate in this and decrease your hours and not be available. But I have dedicated a lot of financial support to help us continue and go on. And we will continue to do that, but you have to be available in order to make this successful.
Okay, thank you. Jessica?
So over the last 6 months, I've been meeting with business owners and sitting down for strategic planning. The first thing that I do when I sit down with a business owner is ask, what do you need to survive and what do you need to thrive? And getting those two questions out immediately lets us know how to focus on long-term goals and short-term goals. And once we identify what those needs are, then we can work together and get those needs provided for. I have done a series of interviews called The Power of Community, where I interviewed local business owners and talked about the innovative things that they are doing and how they're getting supported by the community and also what they still need. It's really important to stay in constant contact with our business owners to understand how their needs are changing. This is a dynamic situation and sometimes businesses are open, sometimes they're not, and we need to be able to adjust quickly. The Cobb Area Council has a small business loan fund that was just for the Cobb area businesses. But once COVID hit, we recognized the need for capital and we expanded that to the rest of the county. And we were able to give out $25,000 in small business loans for companies to fill the gaps, buying inventory and equipment and different things like that. These are very low interest loans. I've also started a marketing collaborative initiative for the Cobb area through the $200,000 economic development grant that the Cobb Area Council was awarded last year. And we have put 3 amazing, brilliant women in our community in charge of creating this marketing collaborative to support the businesses through the end of next summer. Additionally, I've had 2 food drives. I have a feeding project with the Cobb School Garden, and I've been really active in making sure that those needs, those immediate needs of getting food for our families that are struggling are being met.
Thank you. For Mr. Kearney, can the supervisors create programs to incentivize independent, locally owned small business growth? And should they?
Would you repeat that, Joel?
I absolutely can. Can supervisors create programs to incentivize independent, locally owned small business growth? And should they?
Well, I can't answer that because I'm not a supervisor, but I would, they are the people that govern this county. And if they could pass anything that would make it more available for business to continue, I would imagine that we would be doing that at this time. But I'm not sure. I won't know until I sit on that board. But I think we have to not let these businesses not survive, but we have to, some of the questions that Jessica just answered that said we need to find out what their need is, what's going to keep them going. And I can tell you most of small businesses can't tell you that. Most of them are mom and pop places that are doing the best they can. And a lot of those are restaurants that are not able to survive. So I certainly would want to be involved with making those businesses survive, but I'm not sure that we could get the feedback from the owners of those businesses to let us know exactly what they need.
Okay. Thank you. Jessica?
Well, I've been lucky enough to sit in on the BARC meetings with the members of the EDC, and this is exactly what we've been talking about for the past several weeks, is how do we bridge the gap from the elected, the county government, to meet the needs of the small business owners in our community. And I'm sorry, Bill, but I really believe that those can identify what their needs are and what they need to succeed and go forward. And so it's bridging the gap and having the relationships between the government and the businesses. I don't know that the supervisors can do anything directly to incentivize those businesses, but they do have CARES Act funding that they can provide programs and support for different businesses through grants and the loan program that the CBDG monies are coming through. I think there's going to be close to $700,000 to support these small businesses. So it's the communication that matters the most. The supervisors need to be having close relationships with the business organizations and the business owners themselves. And then we figure out how to move forward collectively and how we can support them.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to the next question. Lake County has many vacant buildings, and setting aside impacts of the pandemic, many choose to not invest here due to a perception that Lake County is not friendly to business developments. As a supervisor, what do you see doing to alleviate and change that perception to improve sales of commercial buildings?
Well, I think we have to be available, number one. I see the empty shells, and I don't see those in Kelseyville in my district as I do in Lakeport. But we have to have people that are willing to take a risk. And if those people are going to take the risk, they have to have the financial backing to do so. I opened a pharmacy in 1980. I was broke in 90 days because I didn't do my due diligence. And that's exactly what people have to do before they get involved. We have to support them as the Chamber of Commerce. We have to support them with the Board of Supervisors, but they have a responsibility before they ever get here to make sure that they are durable enough to survive not making it in 90 days or 6 months or whatever time they decide. It's a very competitive market because there are a lot of people doing the same sort of thing. When I opened a pharmacy, I had a competition. I had Thrifty, I had Meadows, I had different pharmacies that I had to compete against. And the reason that we were successful is we treated people like they were our family. That's not a financial thing. That's an independent thing that is very important if you're going to survive in small business. So I think we have the people here that want to do that, but they have to realize before they open a business what it's going to cost. Many, many days and nights of being there for 8 or 10 hours, whether you're open that amount of time or you're doing financial things to find out where you are. But there's a huge responsibility for you as an owner to make those things available so it's not exactly the customer's reason for not being here. It's you, and you need to be the one that makes that difference and brings the customer in.
Thank you, Will. Jessica?
I used to work in commercial real estate in San Francisco, and we would focus on commercial and industrial buildings that were in areas, in older areas, and we would improve the building and work to improve the neighborhood. It works really well when you have cities that are interested in cooperating. So you can have incentive programs to rehabilitate older buildings rather than build new buildings, which is what most corporations like to do these days. But you have to really set the table so it's exciting for businesses to come in. You've got to clean the neighborhood. You've got to deal with the blight. You've got to have excellent infrastructure. You have to have the roads. You have to have the broadband that the businesses need. And that's really how you can set the table and invite businesses in to come.
Thank you.
Joe, could I rebut that for a minute?
Quickly, yes.
The problem is what Jessica is saying is going to take a long time. It doesn't just happen overnight. We're trying to make these businesses survive now. So I really like what she's saying, but that's a long-term solution, and we need something as a short-term.
Jessica, do you have a response to that?
Yeah, the question was, how do we deal with our empty properties and invite new businesses to come in? And so that's not the issue for supporting our small businesses that are currently here. This is how we invite new businesses to come and invest in our community.
Staying on the economy, we move to our next question. Frivolous appeals are holding up development here, such as Grocery Outlet in Middletown, the Biomass Project on Red Hills Road, and now the Gwinnett Maha Project. For a little over $1,000, anyone can cost an applicant hundreds of thousands of dollars in project delays. If left unchecked, this will discourage investment here. What can be done to reduce the chance of this happening? Is it possible for the county to require large bonds before an appeal is filed? Bill?
I'm not sure about that, Joel, whether the county can do that or not. I guess they can. The Gwinnett project is something bigger than we've ever seen here and has to have some bit of investigation on what's really detailed there, because it's bigger than anything we've ever done. The other projects has been, it's been a history of this county to have appeals and have them not be approved. And I don't know if it's the planning commission. We have tried to have different planning commissioners and we've resulted in the same kind of a solution. So there has to be a reason of why that's occurring, and whether it's the builder that's causing the problem, whether it's the density of the project, whether it's a financial thing, I'm not sure. But if I was elected supervisor, I would do my best to keep this county growing and let those kind of things exist, even though I'm not for high density population for the county of Lake.
Jessica?
Well, I don't think we can give away or get rid of the appeals process altogether, but maybe a larger investment would be wise. The projects that have recently been delayed have been delayed because the night before an appeals hearing, hundreds of pages are dumped on our county, and they're not able to look at those documents in time, not able to respond adequately. And so I would really like to see that practice stopped, because that is unfair to our projects that are in the pipeline, and it is unfair to our staff.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, staying in economy. Proposition 15. This legalese means farmers and ranchers will face tax increases on a wide range of farm property, including fruit and nut trees, vineyards, fences, barns, processing plants, dairies, irrigation systems, silos, tanks, storage sheds. You get the idea. As District 5 is the major farming area in Lake County, what is your position on state Proposition 15?
Well, it's kind of a two-sided sword here because this is going to be on not what it cost and not what the original investment was in the property, but what the assessed value is now. So I think it starts at $3 million, if I'm correct. And it's going to be very expensive to have the assessors go out and reassess all of those properties so the state or the county can get the money on the tax property. So I think it's a wide, I think maybe the intent was good because it's supposed to go to schools, but I think the cost is going to be phenomenal in order to get the assessment value to be reassessed. And I don't think that's fair to the corporations that exist. And we'll have to find another way, but that's the largest tax that a corporation has ever had in the state of California. And I think it's unfair.
Thank you. Jessica?
Well, I was under the impression that ag was exempt from Prop 15, but apparently there are some loopholes that could harm our local farmers. And when we look at reassessing these taxes, I think we could be hurting our local property owners and our commercial property owners and our ag. I'm not sure that there would be a large benefit to our county with this proposition. So I'm not 100% behind this one at all.
Thank you. Bill, what is your strategy for attracting more living wage employment to Lake County?
That's been a platform for me for a long time, and my main goal is to get high tech industry here because it can be done from any place. I think we have to have more affordable housing in order to attract those kind of people. We need to have an ambassador as such to go to these areas or go to these companies like Google. We have people right now that go down to Google, have an airplane. A friend I have flies down there and comes back, only has to spend 3 days down there and then comes back. I think that with this beautiful lake and with this county and with the kind of infrastructure that we have and need more of, it would be an easy thing, but we just have to concentrate on that part of the economy in order to bring it here because they can do this from any place. And we found that out with COVID.
Jessica.
Yes. So I can appreciate high-tech jobs. That's what Joel and I have been doing for 15 years since we've been here. We have a software development consulting business that we run out of our home. I can tell you that broadband continues to be an issue, and to attract large companies, we have a lot of infrastructure that needs to be brought up to date. The sewers, the water, housing, affordable housing. I'm hesitant to attract large companies until we have these things figured out. We can have good paying jobs through our healthcare, through our infrastructure jobs, our projects that we have to get done. We have to have our roads built, the Caltrans highways. I have just had PG&E working out in front of my house all summer, as has the Cobb Area Water Company on a $5 million pipeline project. So we need our infrastructure updated. We need affordable housing. We have an aging group of seniors here that need healthcare and in-home workers. Those are all high-paying jobs, and those are already here. We just have to support those projects and get them moving so that we can have those people working here in our county instead of living here and working outside of the county.
Thank you. Okay, Bill. Water moratoriums in various areas of the county, like Soda Bay and Riviera Heights since 2011, is making it difficult for owners of vacant land property to build on or sell their land due to not being able to connect to a water supply. This situation hurts the county, as these properties, once developed, could improve the property tax base. What will you do to change this situation?
Well, I think you have to start at the homeowners association because they are really the people that have something to do with convincing the people that live there to bring that in. It has to be affordable. And we're in a time right now where that's not really a reality in a lot of those cases. So whether it's bonds to get approved or another way to get some sort of a financing with a grant, it's not going to happen. So I realize those are issues. They've been issues ever since I've been here. I live in Buckingham and we have our own water system, but that's not going to solve the problem in Riviera Heights and Soda Bay. And there is really still being sewer dumped in the lake from some of those areas. And we need to do something. And I'm not sure how to do it because I'm not living there, but we have talked to people in the Rivieras, and it's a wish that they have too, but they don't seem to have a strong homeowners association enough to get the participants to really involve themselves to make this happen.
Thank you, Bill. Jessica?
So addressing the water moratorium means that you have to address the water infrastructure. And those areas need a consolidation with the water systems so that they're all brought up to current standards. The Cobb area water company has just started a massive consolidation project and bringing all of the small kind of defunct water systems in the area under the umbrella of Cobb area water. And now the pipelines are going in, the tanks are being built, and there's a massive amount of infrastructure that's being put into this area, and the moratoriums are being lifted. Now, the state of California paid for this, and they are using this program, this project as an example for what we can do around the lake. And the areas of the Rivieras and Soda Bay are critical for this. The consolidation needs to happen, and it needs to include sewer. Once the lots have adequate infrastructure with water and sewer, then you can start rebuilding again, and we can get houses on the tax roll.
Thank you. Okay, final question regarding the economy. As a newly elected supervisor, how do you intend to get individual departments to work better with one another and operate under a shared vision or set of goals?
That's a difficult question. And the county administrator has got to be involved in working with the Board of Supervisors in order to make this a successful thing. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be a quick thing. It's going to take some time and it's going to take some money. But the county would really have to be involved in a great way in order to make this an effort. And as being on the Board of Supervisors, I would like to be one of those people that goes out and educates the public on how important this is to survive in this county.
Thank you, Bill. Jessica?
So, I feel like our county staff is under a lot of pressure. We have not enough department heads, so we have consolidated departments. We have staff doing a lot that's being asked of them, and we have a lot of unfilled positions. So getting the departments and the department heads aligned with new people that are come in with fresh ideas, and we could do some visioning on what our common goals are and really some team building exercises. Because if we're going to tackle all of these issues that we need to, we've got to be on the same page. We've got to be positive, and we've got to be able to work together.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the next topic, and we will now have Jessica, you will lead through these set of questions, and we will go to management. The first question for Jessica is, county offices being closed on Fridays, like the county recorder's office, is inefficient for many businesses. For example, real estate transactions will take longer to close. As a supervisor, would you promote a review of this action and work to get certain departments open on Fridays?
I'm disappointed that this is still happening. Yes, we are in a disaster, but we have been in several disasters. Like I mentioned earlier, we are in a constant state of disaster and recovery, and we still have to figure out how to serve our county and serve our communities. And we need to get at least those offices open for a few hours on Friday. And we can't just close because we're busy. We have to figure this out. It's just not acceptable that we're not serving our constituents.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Bill?
I don't think that this is such a difficult thing to overcome. I've been in that courthouse on Fridays a lot because that's the time that I have available. And I'm able to see almost any person that I want to see about any issue. And I think most of those people are there. The doors aren't open. You knock on the door and then somebody answers it. I think that they are saying that they get the job accomplished by doing it at home and getting the resources there. But I don't think it's a big reach to get those people back in their offices on Friday. And I'm for that happening. I think it needs to be.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. For Jessica, staying on management, the county paid for and completed a compensation and classification study. Due to the pandemic and fires, this has not been discussed at any supervisor meetings to date. The study made it clear that many in the county employ are paid as much as 45% below the median level in comparison with other counties for the same position. However, the study shows that our Lake County Supervisor's position is paid at the median salary for this region, the only position at that level. Since it is the board's responsibility to set wages for all county employees, will you, if elected, make the tough decisions to bring the county staff to the median level or take steps to reduce the board's wages that will be reflective of the sacrifices that all county staff has had to make over the past several years?
So I was under the impression that this report was still confidential. I know it's been spoken about in closed session, and so I don't have a clear understanding on what all the compensation levels are. But we do need to get our staff up to at least the medium level so that we can stop losing staff and stop being a starter, a place where people come and start their careers, get trained, and leave. This is really important. We need to have people in these positions for longevity so that we have consistency, so that we have a clear vision and we can really accomplish what it is that we need to get done. And if I have to take a pay cut as a supervisor to become in line with the other salaries, then so be it.
Thank you, Jessica. Bill?
The same goes for me. I don't know what the salary schedule is for all the county employees. And I'm not sure that they are that far under other counties, maybe high density counties that there's a factor. We certainly don't need the turnover. In those positions, we need to have those people be there for some length of time. As far as my salary as a supervisor, I don't need that. I'm not running for supervisor for a salary. I don't need a job. I don't need the money. And I, like Jessica, would have no problem with reducing my salary, which I don't think is exorbitant. I don't think it's higher than it should be, but it's something that if you need places to cut, I'm more than willing to do that. And I would have to see the statistics to really see how underpaid that we think that county positions are, because some of the people get paid quite well, and maybe those are the only people I'm aware of. So I would like to see the complete list of how county people are underpaid in this county compared to others.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Jessica, is the issue of higher pensions being paid out in the next few years a concern of the County of Lake?
Well, higher pensions are always a concern for any corporation or any organization or any county government. I don't have a lot of information on that right now, but it is something that continually needs to be looked at and addressed.
Okay, thank you. Bill?
I don't know that they're high pensions at all. I know there are some positions that are, for example, in the judges' venue of getting a raise every time somebody in the states get a raise, and I'm not sure that that's not that way with a lot of the administrative offices, or maybe none of the administrative offices in the county. But I think it needs to be fair. I think we have a decent cost of living here. I don't know that we need to get paid exorbitant salaries. I don't consider the salary of the Board of Supervisors an exorbitant salary because it's a full-time job, even though it doesn't need to be. So I would have to really look at that to say that there has to be something done with those pensions because right now I'm not available to that information, just like Jessica.
Thank you, Bill. Jessica, there are 4 very distinct areas in District 5. Kelseyville, Buckingham, the Rivieras, and the Cobb area. Can you name the top distinct challenge for each of those 4 areas?
I think there's a few challenges for each area. I think with Kelseyville, you have to support the central business district, but you also have to look at the water and sewer issues and building housing in the appropriate places. Buckingham continues to have a problem with really high fire insurance, if you can get it at all. I think the homeowners association there is trying to get a fire station close by, and that could help with that. Buckingham and Rivieras have a problem with evacuation, vegetation management, and fire preparedness. So those are really big issues for all of those areas. And the Cobb area continues to need housing and infrastructure rebuilt, broadband, and really just getting people living in the community again to support the businesses and to really fill out the community.
Thank you. Bill?
I agree that the Cobb area is going to be hard to rebuild because so much of it was destroyed, and to have people have a positive effect on as the fires have gone around us to want to endure that risk is something substantial that has to be an educational process. As far as Kelseyville goes with the water and the sewer and those kind of things, I think it's something that just continues to need to be worked on. We have a underwater problem with getting the amount of water in Big Valley and those kind of areas. Buckingham, I'm on the board of directors there, and we are working really hard to get a fire station there. Our fire insurance is going to be astronomical. There was a policy from the commissioner of insurance that expires, I think, in November, and it was a passage that said that the insurance companies had to insure us, no matter what the risk was. That's gone now. So, and we know what's going to accelerate now are the cost of fire insurance here. So our main reason here is to get a fire station is to bring that cost down, because when you go to sell a property here, you have to add another $16,000 to $20,000 on it just for fire insurance. So that's a program that we have to rectify. We have to, as being on the Homeowners Association, I'm working with that, and it's not just Buckingham. It's the whole area around Kelseyville and up in Cobb too, where Jessica's from. So we need to find a solution. We need to have somebody that is that's capable of going to the director of insurance. And I don't know that we're even going to have one after this gentleman leaves in November. So it has to be addressed because it's a huge issue, even when you go to sell your home, to add that extra money on it. And we're not in any higher insurance risk than fire risk than the rest of Lake County, except we have the Riviera on one side and Riviera West on the other side. And so it's it's going to be an issue that we have to deal with and we have to solve it.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, the next question, Jessica. What are your primary campaign promises to District 5 communities, and how do you expect to see them to fruition?
So my top 3 priorities right now are getting through the COVID disaster without more people sick and dying. And we have to keep our economy afloat during that time. We have to keep our businesses open. So my promise to you is that I will work as hard as I possibly can, as I have been doing for months, to support our businesses and make sure that once we get through this pandemic, we still have businesses here in our county. I also promise that I will never let up on preparing this county for wildfires. This is an issue that is very dear to my heart. I've worked on this for a long time. It's preparing our communities, and it's the long-term fuels reduction and vegetation management that we have to take on. I have watched more than one fire from inside a CAL FIRE truck, and I don't want to watch any more. I don't want to watch our communities burn. So I will never give up on those 2 points right now.
Thank you, Jessica. Bill?
Well, that's always been an issue where I live, and we have the Black Forest right next to Buckingham, and we have a lot of dead lumber there that's just laying there that needs to be taken care of. We have worked from in this part next to Canocti and Soda Bay and Buckingham in trying to clear up as much of the debris as we could. Rob Brown has been very active in getting the community to work on that. I think it's an issue that we will continue to have just because of where we live in Lake County, not specifically where I live or specifically where Jessica lives, but it's just going to be an issue because the nature of the surrounding area that we live in. I think it needs to be an educational process. I think we all need to take responsibility. We are very high on abatement of properties where I live, and the board actually from Buckingham actually enforces that. So one of the questions I heard from somebody this week was, how is the enforcement going to go? Well, we actually patrol the area and do the enforcing ourselves, and it goes on the tax roll as an assessment if we have to clear that property.
Thank you, Bill. Jessica, in these trying times, we are seeing a lot of our constitutional rights being placed on hold in the name of safety. As a candidate, who may be responsible in these decisions? Where do you draw the line? And when it comes to sacrificing, where do you draw the line when it comes to sacrificing liberty for safety?
Well, I think this question has to do with the masking issue. And I really believe the collectivity of our community is how we are going to get through this pandemic that is killing people and making people sick. And I don't believe that wearing a mask is a constitutional affront. We can uphold what the governor is laying out for the state of California. We know that these things work, and I just haven't seen anything yet that would affect constitutional rights. That said, I will always be on the lookout for things that actually would affect constitutional rights.
Thank you. Bill?
I agree with Jessica on this. I think that the mask issue is a huge one. I think being socially distanced is a big one. I think so far this county has been pretty successful in doing most of those things. And I think that's why you don't see a big influx of COVID-19 here. And this isn't going to end soon. I mean, this COVID-19 is going to be around even till the end of next year, possibly. It's going to be hard to discipline people to keep that up. And I don't think it's against the Constitution to ask people to do that. I think it's for the health, the better health of the community. I think it's something that we just are living in a new society now. And if we want this society to continue to be a livable entity, that we can bring more people into this county, I think we have to utilize a lot of those procedures and make it effective.
Thank you, Bill. Jessica, what is your #1 priority / project, if elected, and your solution to fix it?
Well, as mentioned before, I think my top 2 priorities are supporting our economy and preparing our county for wildfires. We are going to be living with fires for a long time. And this is not something that's going to go away. Our climate is changing rapidly. Our forests have been mismanaged for a long time. So really targeting those big land areas that surround our county and our community is a huge priority. And this is the work that we're doing in the Risk Reduction Authority. There are millions of dollars of CAL FIRE grants that are in our county now, and we have to lay out the programs to spend the money and get that work done. You know, we have Tony Gonzalez, our goat herder in county. We should be keeping him working full time every year, but he is going out of county and doing abatement work in other places. And to me, that's unacceptable. We have this huge need here in this county, and we have a resource like Tony, and there are other resources out there that we should have annual contracts with people like him that maintain fire breaks every single year, that we have to do the prescribed burning. These are all the things that we have to do to mitigate wildfire on our county. We have to learn to live with fire again, and fire year round, fire burning in the winter. Some fires are going to happen in the summer. I was just out on the LNU complex fire a few weeks ago, and some of those fires were actually beneficial to the area. They weren't killing trees, they weren't damaging property, they were just kind of scoring out the underbrush that had grown up in the last few years since the Valley Fire. So we have to be in this frame of mind where we're thinking about fire and living with fire and managing our fuels to protect our communities.
Thank you, Jessica. Bill.
Well, just to stem back on what Jessica said, we need controlled burns, and we used to do those all the time to get rid of that excess vegetation that we have that is a fuel for fires to begin. We have to make that a priority, and I say it's education. We have to get more people here in order to support this county so we can get a better venue of taxes and support group to support the county in the ways that we need in order to make it a safe county. There are many people that are leaving our county because of the risk of fires. There really isn't any place to go in Northern California where there isn't a risk like this. And if we can't convince our own community that this is something that we have to take care of, then we have lost our effect in this county. And as being on the Board of Supervisors, I seldom see them address this issue. Other than Rob Brown, I've been very active in helping him. But I think that needs to be a huge educational process. And if we have to tax people more in order to do it, we have to do something to save this county from the fire hazard that we have. So.
Okay, thank you, Bill. So believe it or not, we're about at the halfway point, kind of get a stretch. We're going down the home stretch here. Like just, give it a big yawn, maybe a little drink of water. We can
just water?
Just water. All right, staying on the management theme, for Jessica, given all the challenges facing Lake County, what other priorities do you want to address in the first 4 months of office?
So the zone of benefit in the Rivieras and Buckingham is a huge issue. It's a disaster waiting to happen. The people that live there assessed themselves, they taxed themselves. There's $500,000 almost of money sitting at the county, and only 8 lots have been abated. So this is a huge focus of mine. We have to get this work done, and we have to get everybody from those zones at the table to strategize how we get this work done. It's unacceptable to me that it hasn't happened, but I do understand why. Code enforcement has a huge burden. So that really is one of my top priorities in the first 4 months.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Bill?
This benefit zones has been an issue with me also. I have talked to some of the supervisors about what we should do to get it better. We need the funding to be able to support this. We need taxable dollars that we have put in our area in order to fund this. There has to be an acceptance by the community that this is something that we need to participate in order to make it effective. So you get all sides of the coin on benefit zones and whether or not they're worth being a part of or not. And they definitely have to be for us to survive this. So I don't know how you assess more. We have, I think, $5,000 in our fund from District Number 5, and we need more. And we have had an assessment so far in the community in the last 2 years, and that money is still sitting there. So I think that's the way we have to do it. We have to convince the Board of Supervisors that we need as much help as we can get to accomplish this. But I think it can be done. We just have to educate people how important it is.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Jessica, how will you gauge your success as a supervisor?
Well, I know you're not going to please everybody. So maybe a gauge of success is that some people don't like you, but I'm kidding. No, there are a lot of things that I have laid out that I want to see accomplished. I want the zone of benefit finished. I want the hazardous vegetation abatement ordinance more robust so that we can be effective in communities. I want to see the tax revenue from cannabis spread out to the programs that will really make a difference in our community. I want to see the seniors really well cared for in our community and really take that as a priority to make sure that people are living in this county in their homes with dignity, and we have the programs in place. And I want to see the people having great jobs, like I spoke about earlier, with healthcare, construction, and infrastructure projects. Those I will be able to gauge. Those are tangible goals that I have set, and I'm really looking forward to getting started on those.
Thank you, Jessica. Bill?
Well, the jobs have been a big issue for me and continue to be. And I would like to have more people in here for the high-tech jobs that I've talked about before. I think once we get a higher amount of money in the county fund, we're going to be able to do a lot more things that we hadn't been able to do before. I think abatement is a huge issue, and I think it has to be a priority here because we can lose everything without enforcing the abatement. We have a way of doing that to put it on people's tax rolls if they don't abate their property, and we in our district have to do the abating, then we charge them what it would cost us to have it abated, and we do that. So I want this county to be successful, but we have to work at it. Even as old as I am, I want to participate in doing that, and being on the Board of Supervisors, you're one of 5 people. So you have to get the other 4 people to realize that this is an issue that we need to keep supporting, and it needs to be a priority. And we have a lot of things from 4 or 5 different people on the Board of Supervisors that have different priorities. That has to be one, I think, for all of the Board of Supervisors. So I would continue to support that and would continue to use activation with the rest of the board members in order to convince them that that needs to be a priority.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Next, following the management, Jessica, do you believe that the supervisors can help our seniors and retired get better health services in Lake County? And if so, how?
I absolutely believe that we can. So the telehealth bill that was just passed by emergency by the governor, and this is a bill written by Assemblywoman Aguiar Curry. This has been groundbreaking for rural communities like ours, where people can actually attend their medical appointments or their mental health appointments, but they need broadband and they need other infrastructure in their homes to make sure that they are warm in the winter, cool in the summer. They have meals delivered to them. So when we look at healthcare for our seniors, it's all of these things. And we have the in-home health service workers go and visit some of our most vulnerable seniors. And we can really arm them with training materials and materials to get the incentives with PG&E to help them prepare for evacuations and PSPS. There's a lot of programs that we can really influence to help support the seniors in our community. We just have to make it a priority.
Thank you, Jessica. Bill?
Well, I agree with Jessica as far as what we need to do, but we can't do all of these at one time. This all takes money. It all takes financial things, so mostly education and mostly money. Where is that money going to come from? So we know we have to find a way to generate more revenue in the county in order to have that money, in order to educate those people and take care of those people. Seniors are a huge issue in this county and in every county. We're all getting older, including me. I don't need somebody to support me right now except my wife, but we have to be able to generate some revenue in order to give these seniors that. And the money has to come from someplace. Somebody has to pay for it. Getting new jobs is going to help, but it's not going to be the answer to take care of this right away. And this whole community in the state, everybody, we have a larger commitment to seniors than we've ever had because people are living longer. So besides Medicare and Medi-Cal, there really isn't anything that we have available. So we've lost a lot of professional. I've been on the board of directors and the president of Sutter Lakeside Hospital. We've lost a lot of physicians. We have a big shortage of rural physicians, and telepathy is not always the answer. We have mental health use by telepathic means, but we don't have a lot of other ways to do it. And we have to find a way, but we have to increase the amount of professionals we have in this county in order to give that to the seniors as well as the rest of the county. We're very deficit in having physicians and physician assistants to make that part work as far as helping the seniors.
Okay, thank you, Bill.
Rebut that for a moment. So the programs that I'm speaking of are supported by the state and the federal government. And this is money that does come into our county. And we, like I was speaking about the in-home health service workers, we can train them to do more because they're already going into these homes and they're already visiting people. Now, I will disagree with you on the telehealth bill because that program has already seen a 750% increase in people making their appointments in the last few months since that started. So this really is a way that we can support seniors in their homes, and we can once we've figured out some of the COVID issues with social distancing, I believe there's a plan to build hubs where seniors can go and have broadband access, and they can have telehealth visits with their professionals.
Thank you. Bill?
I didn't say it didn't work. I said that we have been successful in using that, and it is available, and it is something that we can do. So I want to correct you on that because I just think it needs to be a wider scope than what it is.
Okay. All right, thank you. Let's move on to the next question. Excuse me. Because Lake County does not have a chief executive officer position, the supervisors are tasked with county department oversight. What relevant experience do you have to do this effectively? Jessica?
Right. So the supervisors do oversee the department heads. And I have been managing large projects for years. I've been managing large teams of volunteers for years. Before I came back to Lake County, I worked in commercial real estate in an asset management firm where we had owners, where we had an investor base that we bought buildings for, sold buildings for, and did the asset management for. And there were teams of managers and all kinds of staff with each of those properties. So this is something that I am very familiar with, and I have a background in team building and management.
Okay, thank you. Bill?
Well, we have a county administrator, county office administrator that works in this county that oversees many of those things. So I'm not aware that we don't have somebody there that's working with the Board of Supervisors that's in an administrative position in order to help. So I'm all for more emphasis that we could put on those, but I think we have a position in place to monitor that as we go now. We can build on it, but I think we have somebody there.
Okay. Moving on, staying in management, Jessica. As a newly elected supervisor, what can you do to get the various county departments to work together more and operate to a shared vision and set of goals?
Well, collaboration is always the key to success. One of the things I really think that we need is some database interfacing with the different department heads, particularly with permitting, so that each department can see where the status is on all permits and projects that are going through the pipeline. And I think that's really going to help. But, you know, team building, there's so much to team building and getting everybody having the collective vision, excited about their job. I mean, that's who I am, and that's how I like to inspire people to work with me.
Okay. Thank you, Jessica. Bill?
Well, I think it's difficult because our departments are so much different. Our goals are so much different. They're all to better the county and to make the county better, but there are completely different goals for one department and the other department, and they don't necessarily cross each other. So although that's a great idea, and I think it's one that might work in other places, it doesn't hurt to have everybody get together, but for them all to have the same value and the same specific interest in making this work, I think is a far reach. Now I've been in business for 40-some years. I've managed pharmacies all over the country in 8 different states. I've had as many as 200 people working for me at one time. I know that it's possible, but these were all in the same field, and they were different positions, of course. But I think it's a desirable goal to reach, and I'm not saying it's not possible, but this isn't something that can be done right now.
I do believe that the success comes from the culture that you create in the environment. And that's what I'm talking about building.
Bill?
That's fine. I just think it's not something that culture can be changed instantly. It has to be something we work at, and it's going to take some time to do. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's going to take some time to do. And we have to realize on long-term goals like this that we have to put in a lot of effort, and to make it work is going to take some time. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's not workable.
Thank you, Bill. Jessica, what is your vision to strengthen our county financially and socially?
Call from Holly Cable.
Can you mute whoever that is?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you read the question one more time?
Absolutely.
Thank
What
you.
is your vision to strengthen our county financially and socially?
So we are having a revenue problem, a revenue crisis. And we talked about the tax rolls earlier. We have millions of dollars out there. That is revenue that we're losing out on. We have homes that have not been rebuilt from our several disasters. those contribute to revenue. So we've got to get the housing and the properties back on the rolls, paying their taxes and contributing to our revenue issues. Socially, we've got so many needs in our county, and we're making progress with our homelessness. Our friends and neighbors experience homelessness. We've made big strides this year with the Elijah House and Project Room Key and the Hope House that's coming, and then supporting our seniors, like I mentioned before. These are social issues. These are our most vulnerable people. And so we can really direct the services that are already there to support them. We just have to be able to identify them, and we have to make them a priority.
Thank you, Jessica. Bill?
Can you reread the question?
Absolutely. What is your vision to strengthen our county financially and socially?
Well, it's an educational process for number one. And I agree that our seniors need to be taken care of. And we have to have a way to do it. And I know Gary Diaz, for one, is working a lot in order to help the homeless out. I still think that we don't need to build areas for more homeless, take care of the ones we have. And as far as the seniors go, I think we do a pretty good job of taking care of them. I've been in healthcare all my life. I have been involved with hospice. I've been involved with all the nursing homes, the extended care facilities, and know what the effort has been in order to make those people be important as far as a part of our community. I know it's difficult because of communications, and we have to let people know we're doing that. I still have a, excuse me, a great feeling for the seniors, and I still want to have them taken care of. Anything we can do to make that better, whether it becomes building another good skilled nursing facility, or if we need that in order to make it an affordable thing for the people that are involved, I'd be willing to be helping with some of that, because that's where all my experience is. So I think we do a pretty good job of taking care of our seniors now. We can always do better. And I think that in order to do that, being on the Board of Supervisors, in order to make that a priority, is something that we just haven't had in the past.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Jessica, do you support the Middle Creek flood damage reduction and ecosystem restoration project? Public perception is that this project has been long stalled. How do you see helping to move this project forward?
I absolutely support the Middle Creek project. This is the biggest way that we can restore our lake, by restoring the wetlands at the north part of the lake, Middle Creek, that was turned into farmlands a while ago with the Rodman Slough, directing all the water straight into our lake without the natural filtration that used to happen in that marshland. So getting that project complete will reduce the nutrient load on our lake and reduce the bacteria problems that we have, and keep our lake cooler. So the project has congressional approval now. What we're waiting for is congressional funding. The committee has just signed another letter of intent with the Army Corps of Engineers to proceed with the project. And we are not the highest need of the Army Corps of Engineers, so we're not quite at the top of that list yet, but we will be soon, and we're waiting for that congressional funding to come through. We have a lot of support at the state and federal level. The supervisors last week approved a contract with Paragon Partners to go after acquiring more of those parcels in the area. So they are well on their way doing that. And we need to get that congressional funding to make sure that we get this project back on track. We're getting a lot of money from the state. Some of that's been derailed from COVID. So I trust that our state elected is getting that money to us so that we can continue with this project. This is an incredibly important project.
Thank you, Jessica. Bill?
I agree on the importance of the project. I disagree that it's going to happen right away. We have to acquire the property first. And I just talked to Director Scott DeLeon last Friday about this issue. And it's going to take a lot to acquire the last property that we have to acquire in order to make that available. And they are not optimistic about that happening in the near future, although they still keep working on this with the individual that's still on that property. So it's something that I believe in, but it's been going on for 30 years. And whether or not it will get accomplished or not, I don't think it's an immediate thing. That doesn't mean we can't stop trying. But I just was in Director DeLeon's office this week talking about it. And it's not something that the Army Corps of Engineers can do either. It's something that we have to get that last property in order to make it happen.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Final question under management. Jessica, is there any state priority that you believe Lake County should stand against and promote our own agenda?
I am not entirely sure I understand the intent of this question. I don't believe that there is a state priority that our county should not participate in.
Thank you. Bill?
I'll have to give you the same kind of an answer. I would like to know what it is. If it's available and if we know about it, we certainly would need to get involved. But I'm not aware that there is an issue at this point that disagrees with where we're going as a county.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, we move on to the next category of questions, this one being the environment. And Bill, we will now go back to you being first to answer the questions and then move on to Jessica. First question involving the environment. Due to multiple years of fires, Lake County has suffered massive losses of oaks, the official tree of America. What is your position on oak woodland protection?
Well, I don't know that that it's been a priority as far as something that comes in front of me. I know the carbon footprint is pretty drastic as far as where we are in the community, as far as the forest goes. As far as the oak involvement itself, I'm not at liberty to answer that and be extremely honest about what my answer would be, except to protect the oak as best we could.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Jessica?
We have lost so many amazing of our heritage oaks, and not just from the fires, but from the Caltrans expansion of our highways. So that has been a huge loss for so many of us, along from Cobb to Middletown and along 29 near Kitts Corner to 175. So it's not just the fires that we've lost these oaks, it's a huge loss. Other counties protect heritage oaks, and I would be really in favor of developing a program like that in our county so that we can protect these trees because they are older than, they're hundreds of years old, and they are legacy trees, and they need our protection.
Thank you, Jessica. Next question regarding the environment. District 5 has many acres of timberland and brush that has not burned in decades. What is your plan for long-term vegetation management and fuel reduction in Lake County? Jessica? Oh, I'm sorry, Bill.
Yeah, I'm very much aware of that. I have talked to Supervisor Brown about what we can do to get rid of that. We've had the CDC or the prisoners come in and work at clearing some of that property. A lot of this is next to where I live in the Black Forest. So I don't know that this has been an issue brought up in front of the Board of Supervisors, but it has to be taken care of. We had a little sample of that a year or two ago, right in the Black Forest, where I happened to be out of town, and it happened to threaten the Buckingham area, and that debris is still there. So if that ignition takes place, it takes the Riviera Heights, Riviera West, Canocti, and goes all the way around the mountain. So I would, if I was elected to the Board of Supervisors, I would make that a strict priority, because it's not going to just involve where I live. It's going to involve a whole lot of this county, and there's no way really to stop it. There's one exit in and out, that's Soda Bay Road. And we have been alerted before a couple of years ago that, and where I live, East Lake and West Lake Drive, there wasn't any way to get on that Soda Bay Road because of the congestion. My attempt to do that was in a boat to protect my family. So it's a huge issue that needs to be taken care of. And if I was elected for the Board of Supervisors, I would make that a priority.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Jessica?
So District 5 has a lot of timberland. We have not just what Bill's mentioning on Mount Canocti, we have the Kelsey Creek drainage, we have Cloud Mountain, we have Mount Hannah, we have Siegler Mountain. All of these areas need the attention to reduce the ladder fuels and the brush that has grown up from not being burned. This is the work that we've been focusing on with the Risk Reduction Authority. Clerk has gotten several $1 million from CAL FIRE. So right now we're identifying these projects to help the landowners with this grant funding to get this work done. But it does involve the prescribed burning. Again, this last winter we saw a great deal of burning, and it was excellent to see. We've got to get in maintenance mode for these big parcels of land. We have families that have lived on these big ranches for generations, and they used to do this work. They used to do the burning, and we have to work with them and allow them to do that work again that they did historically. And if you have ever looked at a Prather forest, the Prather family manages forests, and they're manicured beautifully. That needs to be the standard of how our forest lands around our communities are managed.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. Bill, disabled and abandoned cars, boats, trash, appliances left on hillsides and along streets, with some vehicles even blocking access to properties. This is becoming commonplace in Lake County. Code enforcement states they do not have a contract with the tow service to remove the vehicles, and they defer to the CHP, and then the CHP says the state funding for this action has been given to the county. The result is nothing is done. What will you do to solve this continuing issue?
Well, I am a recipient of seeing that on my way into Lakeport or Kelseyville along Soda Bay Road, and I have seen it at residences with burned out. I have one right now between the state park and Riviera Heights that is sitting there, that the trunk is open. There are stickers on it, and I don't know who is putting the red stickers on it. And to me, I thought that was the highway patrol or the enforcement people, but those vehicles are still sitting there, and I'm not sure whose responsibility is. If it's code enforcement and we don't have anybody to do it, the county then has to take action on the Board of Supervisors in order to get that done. It's a blight on the community. Part of that is running into the lake from those vehicles that have not been maintained. They're being vandalized. It's pretty tragic, and that isn't unusual between where I live and the state park. So I think we need to make that a priority. And if it's code enforcement that they don't have the money to do it, then the county needs to get funding in there to do it, whatever it takes. But it can't exist because it's harming our lake as well as our environment, and it needs to be taken care of.
Thank you, Bill. Jessica.
Let me tell you, this is a huge priority for me. Just down the street from me, there is still a burned vehicle from the Valley Fire, which was 5 years ago this weekend. Chop shops are popping up all over our county since this is an economic means for some people, but it can't be allowed. Recently, the county has gone after community development block grant funding to specifically target blight. And I'm really hoping that we can use some of these funds to support code enforcement to deal with these abandoned vehicles. On my short list, as soon as I am supervisor, I have several sites with abandoned vehicles, not just from the fire, but people who have just started to collect vehicles and make it a business illegally in our communities. And this is a blight situation, and it's dangerous, and it needs to be handled immediately.
Thank you. Okay, final question, excuse me, in this category. Reliable and affordable broadband service is a major necessity for the economic future of our county. This is something we do not have countywide access to facilitate distance learning, support emergency preparedness, and healthcare servicing. What do you think should and can be done to improve broadband services in Lake County? Bill?
Well, number one, we have to have the people that are available to do that. And that's people that can make this area available, like where I am right now. The broadband isn't reachable to me, and the same way with beyond me over in the Clear Lake area. We need funding for the broadband. And some people are working on it now in order to get broadband in this county, but it takes a huge effort. I think maybe the city of Lakeport has broadband. At one time, I thought they were getting it before I left my position there. But I think it's a necessary thing. If we have to cut trees down, if we have to, whatever availability we have in order to make this a successful adventure, I think it's necessary to get it done. So I'm all for it succeeding. I think it's necessary. I think it has to be a priority to the Board of Supervisors. I've not heard them address that, but I don't get on every meeting. So I'm all for more broadband, and I want to make it something that happens as soon as possible.
Thank you, Bill. Jessica?
So something that Supervisor Sabatier has been championing for well over a year, probably 2 years, is the development of the master broadband plan for our county. And our county is unique that we actually have one of these plans now. And it lays out exactly where the underserviced areas are and how we get there. Now, the funding is a bit of an issue because it's difficult for providers to want to invest in a community where they don't have a lot of return. So the Upstate Consortium and Chico State have been working on getting grants for rural counties like ours to support the providers so that they can put in the necessary infrastructure. Now, the Cobb area, we have just gotten with our $200,000 economic development grant. We are working on a strategy, an economic strategy to overlay with our area plan. We have carved off a chunk of that money to implement one of the broadband plans on that master broadband plan, which should be the first one in our county. So we're funding the implementation for that. Then it will go out to bid, and one of the providers will choose to pick up that project. Now that project will hopefully bring broadband all through the Cobb Valley area, which right now is critically underserved. And we have businesses that are in place that have no broadband service. So they can't perform, they can't thrive until they have this service. So this has been an immediate need that we found, and we're addressing it, and we've hired the consultants to go after that project and bring it home.
Thank you, Jessica. So, Bill, concerning the community, do you support the Lake County COVID enforcement ordinance, or do you support local efforts to repeal it? and why?
Well, I support the ordinance because I think if it didn't exist, there wouldn't be local people enforcing it. So as far as the stay-at-home part of that, I'm not a fan of that, and whether or not that's even enforceable or not. But I think the mask issue is something that needs to be enforced. And as Rob Brown has said, who is going to enforce that? Well, I don't think Dr. Pace is going to enforce it, although he would like to see it enforced. I don't think Sheriff Martin is going to enforce it. So, but I think it's a preventative that has kept us from being. We'll never be a hot spot for COVID-19 because the density of population is so small that that we're not in that position to be so close to each other as they are in a high density population area. But I think we do need the masking to take place, and I think that's one of the reasons that we have been successful in the COVID not being a runaway thing in this county. And I'm for that, and I'm for the enforcement of that the best that we can do.
Thank you, Bill. Jessica?
I do support the enforcement ordinance because keeping our businesses open should be our top priority. If we start to have more cases, which is possible, then our businesses have to go back to closing down different sectors. And I don't want to see that. I want to see our businesses stay open. And the businesses that we can't have open right now, we need to get to the point where we can keep them open. This is how we keep our businesses open. This is how we get to the other side of this pandemic. And our schools and our businesses will continue to falter as long as we have this virus rampant in our community.
Thank you, Jessica. Bill, what is your position on defunding police or law enforcement?
Negative, negative, negative. I think our law enforcement people are some of the most important people in this community. I think in every community. I think defunding, we have seen what happens to areas that have defunded the police, and we have rampant demonstrations and riots, and all we have to do is open the door for those kind of people to come into Lake County, and they will. And it's not something that's compatible with our county. It's not something that's compatible with the residents that live here. It's not something that's compatible with the administration of this county. So I see no way that should be something that defunding the law enforcement. I think Sheriff Martin does a great job. I think both chiefs of police do a great job. And without those, I think we would have busloads of people in here trying to upset this county government.
Thank you, Paul. Jessica?
No, I am not in favor of defunding the police, not at all. I do think that we could support our deputies and our police departments with help with addiction issues and mental health issues. Last winter, I was emailing Sheriff Martin, and we were going back and forth about how behavioral health could support the deputies in these circumstances. Our law enforcement are asked to do a lot, and maybe some of these other professionals could really help support them in the work that they do. And I believe maybe there's a MOU with one of the cities and behavioral health that already does that. So those conversations are worth happening, but defunding the police is not something that I would ever support or consider.
Thank you. Final question regarding the community. Bill, our children are the key to an improved future for Lake County and America. Outside of formal education, how do you see the county supporting the social and emotional growth of children? And would a countywide parks and recreation program be feasible?
Well, I really want to support our youth. I think one of the biggest things that we do is provide meals for our people in the schools, because a lot of those kids don't have any food at home. And I think we need to continue to do that. As far as the educational part, I think that as long as we could have open forums and open venues, and unless we have to stay at a distance in order to keep our youth educated, we need to be involved in the school system in person as much as we can. I have a daughter that's a school teacher in Rockland, and she has to wear a mask all the time. And she says, and she has some autistic kids also. And she says, when I have a mask on, they can't see me smile. And she says that's so much of a benefit to the people that I teach. So, I don't know how we can handle that. If we have to wear masks, we have to wear masks. But I think we have to be involved in-house to give our children the kind of education that they're going to need.
Thank you, Bill. Jessica?
There's been a lot of great work that's been done lately, and that's taking our organizations out of silos and bringing everybody at the table to talk about these common issues. So we have the work that the Children's Council is doing, and First Five, and bringing them with the social services, and really supporting these children at a young age and addressing the needs that they have early on, so that they don't continue with bad habits or have difficult situations. And so that really is the key, is supporting them at a young age. The programs are already in place, and the people are coming together and doing fantastic work, and we need to continue to support them.
Thank you, Jessica. Okay, so we're going to move into the final category. I want to thank everyone, thank the candidates and everyone watching and listening. It's been a long evening. We've gone through a lot of questions here, but I think it's been very insightful for everyone. So the final category is cannabis. And the first question, and we will go back to Jessica leading off. Cannabis has greatly increased our agricultural output and is bringing millions of dollars of investment here. Do you support the expansion of this industry?
Cannabis is bringing a lot of money into our county. This year alone, we've already received $3 million, and we expect to receive much more by the end of the year. And, our county is facing a revenue problem. This is revenue that's coming in. We are one of the areas that's most desirable for growing cannabis. That said, we can do this in a really great elevated way, which I think we are. The growers that are going through the legal processes are doing amazing things, and we need to support them. I think cannabis in our county, done well, done right, is definitely a great thing for our economy.
Thank you, Jessica. Bill?
Well, this is a little difficult for me because I've been in the healthcare field for 50, 60 years, and cannabis has always been a Schedule I drug. So it was something that we couldn't even sell in the pharmacy. And I think it has a place here. And I think as far as Lake County goes, it's certainly a revenue position. And for one of the reasons is before they plant, they actually have to put revenue into this county pot. Didn't mean to use that word, but that's what it is. And I think it's definitely it's legal, which is something that never would have entered my mind, but it is in this state, and it's revenue producing. But I think it has to be taxed, and I think it has to be patrolled. I think that there are a lot of people that can't afford the revenue, the money that goes into getting them approved to grow legal cannabis. And so they are going off the grid. And I have been up in the mountains, and I've seen plenty of those sites that are not legal and that are stemming up the creeks and things that are causing problems. And that's where I have a problem. Excuse me. As far as whether or not it should exist in this county, and I think we should collect revenue from it, but I think that we have to be policing the the sites that aren't legal in this county, because they're harming our ecology as well as our country itself. And there needs to be some sort of enforcement. If we have to give Sheriff Martin more latitude or get more money in there, some of the tax money going to them to make it feasible for them to make these illegal grows go away, then we have to do that. Otherwise, it's going to continue on, and pretty soon there will be much more cannabis produced illegally than legally.
Thank you, Bill. Jessica, the next question is, what is your view of the current cannabis ordinance in Lake County?
I think the ordinance has been made stronger over the last couple of years. What I would really like to see is cannabis have its own department and its own specialized planners that can help people walk through the process and support them. They are investing in our county. They're spending a lot of money. And the cannabis ordinance, I think, has tightened up quite a bit and is working for a lot of people. So having its own department and being able to support those growers and investors in our county is really the next step. If we're going to protect this tax revenue and keep growers going through the legal process, then we really need to support them.
Thank you. Bill?
Well, I think the cannabis ordinance is great to have, but I think there needs to be more teeth in it. I think it has to be more strictly enforced. I think it's a venue to let cannabis producers do it legally and do it correctly and to make profit from it and from the county to profit from it. But I think there has to be more teeth in it. And I'm not exactly where that goes, but it has to have some more enforcement participation, I think, in order to make it effective for keeping the illegal grows out of the county.
Thank you, Bill. This next question, we could have just combined the two. Jessica, what revisions would you like to see made to this cannabis ordinance in Lake County?
Well, I don't have any revisions offhand, but along with having the support that goes along with the growers and the investors who are working in our county, we do have to have enforcement, and we do need to allocate some of this revenue that's coming in towards enforcement to stop the illegal grows. The illegal grows give the good growers a bad name, and sometimes they do it in places that affect our scenic byways. They're too close to communities. So we really need to tighten up that part of it, and shifting some of that tax revenue into enforcement is how we do that.
Thank you, Jessica. Bill?
I agree with that. When you look at the forum that's has been established with cannabis, it doesn't give us a lot of movement as far as going back to enforce this, and not the money to enforce it. I think it's always going to be here. I think it's always going to be, it's legal. It's part of this community. It's a revenue part of this community. But I think that we need to have more availability to enforce it. And I think the part that we have enforced right now is not nearly wide scope enough to keep these illegal growers from being apprehended by law enforcement. We know they're there. We know why they're there. I was on a media presentation a few weeks ago that said, and the moderator said, well, I wouldn't buy any from a legal source because it's not affordable. I would go to an illegal source to do that. So that's where a lot of people are going. I don't know what the answer is, if we have taxed it too much, and maybe it needs to go more to the commercial growers that are big time growers that maybe aren't paying enough of a price to put money in the funding in order to have more law enforcement.
I just want to add one more part of that. And I know the pre-approval part for code enforcement has been really difficult this year. And so I think eliminating the pre-approval, so you don't start growing until you're approved, and that will take a lot off our code enforcement's plate. Code enforcement is asked to do so much these days with everything from hazardous vegetation to cannabis. That's, if we can eliminate the or early activation pre-approval and then let them focus on the grows that have that activation, I think that's going to eliminate a lot of the confusion, and at the end of the year we'll have a much better view on how our season has gone.
Bill, do you have a response to that?
Well, I was just talking to an individual today that talked about the early activation, and I was under the impression that on early activation they had to prepay before they had the early activation, and maybe it isn't the entire amount, but I thought there was some financial obligation to do the early, and I may be wrong, but that was what I was informed about earlier.
Well, it just so happens that our next question, do you support the continuation of early activation permits for the next growing season? Jessica?
I don't support the early activation because, and let's look at it like a restaurant. You're not going to be able to open your restaurant until you have gone through all of the processes. And it's the same thing with early activation for the grows. It's not just paying all the money, but it's having everything else lined up, all the boxes checked. It makes it a lot easier for our code enforcement to manage all of the grows and streamline the process.
Bill?
I agree. I think it's just a venue to allow more illegal. The early activation allows no penalty for them to go down the road for a few months and then pay later. It's like if we were opening a business today, we would have to have a business license. We would have to have a tax ID number. We would have to have all the things in place before we could open a business. That's the way it should be with cannabis. And until we get to that point, I think we're always going to have those illegal ones popping up and people supporting them.
Okay, so moving on in the cannabis theme, what can be done to streamline the permit process for cannabis applicants? Jessica?
Well, like I mentioned before, cannabis needs to have its own department, its own staff, people that really specialize in the process, in our ordinance, and in the final product, really. So that alone will take the load off of our regular planners in the building department and consolidate all the professionals that have to do with cannabis in one department. That's really what we have to do. And then enforcement comes out of that. The money from the tax revenue from cannabis needs to support the enforcement to go after the illegal grows and to manage the legal grows and make sure that they're doing everything correctly.
Thank you, Jessica. Bill?
Well, I think the early activation allows them to get involved early with their planning, and that was the purpose of it. So I don't know that I agree we need more enforcement, and I agree that these people have to be just like we are in running a business. They have to have everything in place in order to be able to grow. And I don't think that the permit process or the license process takes them any longer than it does one of us in the county or cities to get a license to operate. So that's just a necessary thing that we have to do when we go into business. I mean, I had to wait when I opened the pharmacy in Bruno's shopping center. I had to wait 6 weeks before I could do any Medicare or Medi-Cal prescriptions without getting the Congressman Thompson involved in order to let me participate and get some funding for that. So I think that's something that we all have to, they have to operate just as a regular business would. in order to get legal and get themselves opened up and be a revenue producing organization.
Thank you, Bill. Jessica, should cannabis tax revenues be made available to help cover one-time emergency costs, including COVID-19, PSPS, and/or fire emergencies?
I do not agree with that. First of all, this is going to be our first big year with cannabis revenue. And as I mentioned, this is important to build out our structure and our support services for this industry within our county. And the enforcement is a big part of it. When the voters agreed to tax cannabis, they wanted that money to go into law enforcement, education, for drugs, the environment, clean water. Ultimately it will end up in the general fund and it will be used for other things, but I don't agree with using it for the one-time emergencies.
Thank you, Jessica. Bill?
No, I agree. I don't think it should be any different than any other business. I don't think we should select cannabis growers to pay for tax issues that we wouldn't put on any other business. So it's legal. If they open a business, it's legal. If they have the license involved and they go by the rules and regulations of the state of California and the county of Lake, they shouldn't be subjected to any taxes that the rest of the businesses in Lake County don't have to support.
Thank you, Bill. This is the final question of the evening, as you all have a sigh of relief. How would you allocate Cannabis Measure C tax revenue? Jessica?
Well, like I mentioned, enforcement needs to be a big part of that, and that will take the load off of our code enforcement. To pay staff for the department and a department head to manage the cannabis. So really building that out, as I've mentioned before, I think absolutely it's got to go towards the environmental and the water and the education and the law enforcement needs as well. But ultimately it will end up in the general fund and could do amazing things for our county, like, support more murals and, really elevate our county. But first, we've got to make sure that our system is strong. And that's where the focus needs to be in the first few years.
I'm free. I'm unmuted.
Oh,
Okay, Bill?
I agree. It has to be something that is enforceable, and it has to be something that that benefits the county as well as the state of California. So, as far as being an issue with, I just think that what I had said before, that this has to be a business like any other business. It has to be treated just like any other business. Law enforcement has to be a big part of that. And if we tax those growers and sellers, we need to make sure that the tax is high enough to put that money in the county fund in order to, whether it goes in the general fund, and I'm sure that where it has to go, or a place that's going to be reachable by law enforcement in order to keep this on a legal basis and not be something that encourages people to have illegal grows.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, so now it's time for the candidates to address the other candidate with one question. And Bill, we will start with you. So if you would address your question to Jessica.
Jessica, you list yourself as an educator, and I went to look at your credentials and see if you were credentialed by the state of California. I couldn't find that you were. I apologize if you are, and it's not available on the state site, but I just question you using that as your basis for running for office.
Yes, so you are correct. I am not a credentialed classroom teacher, which is why I don't use that title. I have been working as a classified staff member at Cobb Elementary for 5 years, where I manage the garden program, and I actually do teach kindergarten through sixth graders, but I'm not a classroom teacher. I don't do assessments. I don't do report cards. I don't interact with parents. And so that's why I'm a classified member and not a credentialed member of our staff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica, you have a question for Bill Kearney.
Sure. How do you think technology can support our local economy through COVID? And what are the ways that you think the different sectors can access technical assistance? And which platforms do you think might be most helpful in driving sales and productivity?
Well, you did a very successful thing by getting into an area that I have no expertise in. So I don't have a way of acting to tell you that technology is going to be a way to do this. I am a businessman. I haven't been in the field that you've been in technology and support for a good amount of your life. So my way of doing this is not so much technology, but being on the board of supervisors, and as far as educating the board and enforcing it as far as the board of supervisors go. The technology part is beyond me. I can always learn, but that's not the venue that I'm going by in order to be an asset to the board of supervisors.
Thank you, Bill.
Mhm.
All right, folks, this has been a long evening, but this concludes our candidates forum. And on behalf of the Lake County Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to thank the
Are we
candidates.
doing our closing?
I thought I was going to close.
Our closing statements?
Yes, you're right. You're correct. I flipped the wrong page. Live television, isn't it wonderful? All right, Jessica, your closing statement.
We are all proud of how Lake County has risen to face so many challenges over the past 5 years. But it is time to recognize that we are living in a constant cycle of disaster and recovery. And now is the time to be proactive and plan for long-term solutions. We need to learn to adapt, pivot, and still get business done. We have to embrace new technologies and bring back the old practices like prescribed burning. More importantly, we have to work together. Our county is rich with diverse backgrounds and exceptional ingenuity, and it is going to take all of us collaborating to solve the greatest challenges that are ahead of us. This type of strategic planning and cooperation is how the Cobb community has made such great progress in recovering from the Valley Fire. And this is the skill set I will bring as supervisor. I am fully committed to doing everything necessary to make Lake County stronger, safer, and more vibrant than ever. I appreciate your time this evening, and I'm encouraged by so many of you who are interested in government at our most local level. For more information on my campaign, please visit Jessica Pyska for supervisord5.com, or you can give me a call, 707-278-4007. Thank you for your time this evening, and thank you for your vote.
Thank you, Jessica. Bill, your closing statement?
Well, I'm not going to be as prolific as Jessica because I'm just me. I'm not a techie. I'm not anything, but my heart and soul is to help Lake County and be as much of an asset to the Board of Supervisors that I can. Education is a big process as far as I'm concerned, in helping fire abatement and help this county survive. I have been honored to be part of this presentation, and I really appreciate the opportunity to give my ideas and conceptions to this event and make sure that I appreciate what the county has done for me and my family and the people that are part of this county that really makes it work. So it's been important to me to be a participant in this, and I really want to thank the Chamber and you, Joel, for being a host and getting us out to the public. I think the information is important on both sides of the table here, And I appreciate what Jessica has offered to this information, and I'm glad that I had an opportunity to participate for sure. So thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. I did not take it lightly. I think it's something that's really important, and it's been very important to me to be a part of this process. Give me a vote on November 3rd, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill. So once again, on behalf of the Lake County Chamber of Commerce, I want to thank the candidates and everyone who attended this evening. It was a long evening, and I want to thank you for staying with us throughout this, because supervisors, no matter what district they represent, impact the entire county with the decisions they make. And it's important that we all take an active part in these elections, so I urge everyone, please exercise your right to vote on November 3rd. Speaking of elections, the Chamber will be offering another candidates forum involving California State Assembly District 4 and candidates Cecilia Aguilar-Curry and Matt Nelson. That will be on September 23rd. For information on that, please go to the Chamber Facebook page or Chamber website, and you will see bulletins on that forum. Again, thank you, everyone. Thanks for attending. Jessica, Bill, great job. Good night, everybody.
Good night.